as you're about to hear, the rest disparity between two Super Bowl contenders this year couldn't be more extreme. So, Warren Sharp, I know you're all over this story, Larry. The Warren Sharp really illuminated the difference that some teams have in terms of rest advantage. And when you compare the 49ers against the Baltimore Ravens, the rest advantage drifts into the concept of, well, that's a month of rest one team gets over the other. What do you got?
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, the schedule, I never love the schedule, release week, because it's just a lot of talk about nothing. But the best article that's written every year about the schedule release is when Warren Sharp goes behind the numbers and shows the inequities that the league doesn't just have at their schedule. They have in a greater level each of the last 2 or 3 years than they had prior. They used to, kind of reward rest and try to even it out. Now it's like the rest be damned and all this player safety be damned. And it's like, we will make the best matchups and we don't care about the rest. And and all the numbers really indicate that. The 49ers have the number one largest net rest disadvantage in the last decade in the NFL, and the number 6 largest since 1990. The Niners have 21 fewer days of rest than their combined opponents this year. The Ravens are plus 16. The Niners are minus 21. That's a 37-day swing in rest advantage between two teams that are essentially both trying to win the Super Bowl. And to put that in perspective, in a sport whose season spans exactly 4 months from start to finish, one team has over 1 month more days of rest edge than another team in the same freaking league. So if you look at the examples here that Warren Sharp, and this is one of the best articles, out there, the NFL is sacrificing schedule equity for TV ratings.
Absolutely, they are.
Yeah, and the Niners had the worst rest edge in the NFL last year. So how about that? Niners had the number one largest rest disadvantage last year. They were minus 20. So now it's back-to-back years of having the most brutal net rest in the NFL. And to put that on the same team twice in 2 years is criminal. That's unbelievable, really. And if you look at the inequities in how this has been laid out, the NFL clearly has cared less and less and less about this rest inequity as the years have gone on, because the margins have gone up. They've sold out more in this year and last year than they ever did before to getting the best TV matchups, which result in the greatest revenue and flipping the bird to anybody who cares about schedule equity. The Niners have the worst rest edge for the entire 2024 NFL season. They have 21 fewer days of rest than their opponents. And if for those who say, well, come on, it's not that big a deal. Really? All right. Last year, when the Chiefs, the world champion Chiefs, who were the best team in football, played with at least 2 days less rest than their opponent, as they did in 5 games last year, the Chiefs went 2-3 and covered only once in 5 games. That was what the Chiefs did last year with a net rest disadvantage. The other games, by the way, for the Chiefs, where they didn't have a rest disadvantage, they went 13-2 and covered 12 of the 15 games. The Chiefs games with rest deficit of 2 or more days, 2-3, and covered 20% of the time. All other games, they went 13-2 and covered 80% of the time. The Niners had a rest disadvantage last year, Damon. As far as where they're playing short weeks on the road, Niners went 2-2 outright, 1-3 against the spread when playing with a rest deficit of 2 days or more last season. But when they didn't, the Niners went 9-3 in their other 12 regular season games and covered the spread 58% of the time. So, it's pretty clear. If you have more rest, that's better than less rest. And even the best teams in football, the Chiefs and Niners, the numbers reveal a dramatic difference when they had more rest as opposed to less rest. And the Niners have the least rest of any team in pro football for the last 2 years. And the Ravens have the most rest of any team. And they're both supposedly competing for the Super Bowl. But it does seem like we're talking about something that is so far out of whack that when a season is 4 months long, and in a 4-month season, one team can wind up with over a month of extra rest. That's not like, oh, that's besides the point. That literally is, we're both running beta breakers and we're racing and I'm wearing ankle weights and you're not.
Right. Or how about in the Indianapolis 500? 6 randomly selected cars get smaller gas tanks than every other car in the field.
Right. Or, guess what? You're carrying more weight on your horse in the Preakness. We're going to strap 5 extra pounds to your horse in the Preakness. Are you cool with that? No, I'm not. Why? Because my chances of winning the Preakness just went down.
Right.
And your chances of winning the Super Bowl went down. And and yet who wins? Do the Niners win? I guess they're all winners, right? Because they share the revenue from the TV, and it all means that the money is going up. But I bet you anything, if you asked every head coach, if Kyle Shanahan were sitting here right now, and you had Jed sitting right next to him, could Kyle say to Jed, "Hey Jed, would you take 2% or 1% less revenue coming from the general fund of the league if we actually had an even, fair playing field schedule wise, as opposed to the Ravens have 37 days of extra rest, and yet we may wind up in Super Bowl Sunday in New Orleans against them in February, and you'll be staring at them knowing that they had 37 more days of rest in this gauntlet called the NFL season that goes from, the 4th of July or whatever till Valentine's Day. Basically, they had an extra month, over a month and a week, really 5 extra weeks of rest. I mean, that's staggering in a sport where rest does mean something. It's that the league used to have, like, we're not gonna put teams in a disadvantaged situation for the matchup. Now they've sold out to the matchups. If you read the article, the disparity from top to bottom has grown in each of the last 4 seasons. So it's getting to be, why is it a bigger issue now? It's a bigger issue now because it's a bigger issue now.
Right. The schedule, the NFL used to serve one master when it came to releasing a schedule. What's the fairest way to conduct this football season? That is maybe the 4th or 5th goal of a schedule at this point in time.
In other words, they're not looking for equity. They're looking for revenue.
Right. They have one master to serve now. The number one master that the NFL serves is network consumption, Amazon Prime, Netflix. The NFL is only concerned with putting games in places to make money with them.
They actually care more about their money in the last 4 years than they ever did before. And exactly. and less about the relative equitable nature of the schedule. I mean, that's just not prioritized.
And that there's no coming off of that. Thanks for watching. Tune into the Damon Bruce Show live on YouTube every weekday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific.